And this week is flying by. It's a Wednesday episode of Red Sox Now. It's all presented by FanArch right here on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We are getting those subscriptions up on the back end of 1,500 now, going towards that 2,000 mark and our goal of 3,000. That's what I want 100,000. That'd be amazing, but I'm realistic. But hope you're having a great week. The Red Sox are having a tough 3 games. We will certainly get to that. I'm your host, Mike Antonellis. I was at the Woo Sox game as a fan last night, which is the second time I've done this. The first time I was sitting with a group, and the front office hooked me up. They gave me seats in behind home plate, season ticket holder seats, about 15 rows back. Unbelievable perspective. To watch a game from there, the speed of the game is completely different. I have some good notes from that. I was there with my family. We had a great time. And I will be there broadcasting their games Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And those locally, Friday and Sunday are on Nesson and Nesson Plus. Friday is Nesson Plus. I'll be with JP Ricciardi. And then Sunday's on the Big Nesson. So I get to be on the Big Nesson Sunday, and then I'll do radio on the other two. And, it's cool because Friday, JP and I will have the call with Peyton Tolley on the mound. And I look forward to that. We will go over some changes possibly to the starting pitching. I love Justin Slayton for a rehab game last night. Man, he looked good. And your amazing comments as well. 3 in a row. Let's get first of all to, I want to rewind back to the comments that I had gotten, not from only a couple, but I think it's relevant to cover this now. And I got a lot of it on X, which you can follow me on all of my social channels at the Radio Mike, that those wins against the bad teams didn't matter. They do matter, right? When you look back now, beating Colorado, beating Washington helped. What's Seattle doing right now against good teams? They've lost 4 in a row. They're playing the Phillies. They're struggling against good teams. So I'm not making any excuses for now. I'm just saying that all the wins matter, right? Those wins, the way that they played against those teams, the games you should win matter because you've played games here, which you should have won, and you didn't. So it really helped that you won some of those games before. But that's why when we kind of dismiss, they beat Colorado and Washington, then how would you have felt if they lost is how you feel right now, losing 3 in a row. It's crazy to think the Red Sox could have won all 3. They could have lost maybe a couple of these games that they won too, right? But the offense again was slow, stalled again. This happens during the course of the year, but it's disappointing. And I'm not making excuses. This has been an extreme team at times, and now we're seeing the extreme lows of their offense, but it's frustrating. I don't mind slow offense in terms of not scoring 6 or 7 runs. I don't like the way they have lost these games, the way they're playing offensively, if that makes any sense. 0 for 13 with runners in scoring position. The strikeouts in big key situations. I mean, 4 to 5 runs at home is enough. When I talked about the Marlins series, you're only scoring 3 runs. The starters have really beaten down on you. But, I think when we talk about offensive production, 6, 7 runs I'm not talking about. When you're playing Miami and Baltimore, 4 or 5 runs should be enough. If you're a great baseball team at home, 4 to 5 runs, and some nights you might need more. But it's the way that they've lost these games. That's why I never black and white everything. There's gray to me in everything. And once again, you had 1 run through 8 innings last night. The night before, you had 1 run through 7. And it is the situational baseball, which was not good. 0 for 13 with runners in scoring position. You left 13. I mean, Baltimore was 2 for 13 and left 12. They weren't much better, but just good enough. Basayo got that little nubber to drive in a run off the bench. But here's, I'll go to the Nate Eaton play because I know everyone's obsessed with that right now, which I definitely don't like. You have bases loaded, nobody out in the eighth inning against Rico Garcia, who was pitching for the Syracuse Mets earlier this year, and an okay reliever. And Jarren Duran is up, and let me apologize because a lot of you people that like Jarren Duran are very defensive of him. Very. Like if I say any little thing to be critical of him, so it's coming. There's nobody out, and he strikes out there. Like, you need your guys to come up big in those spots. I'm not blaming it all on him, but there's nobody out. And if you think he's like this kind of player, you need to come up in those situations. And Story too. I'm blaming all three here. That to me is where the game is lost. You cannot. Those are your guys. And I put Yoshida, who struck out to end the inning. I still put Duran and Story like as your guys, right? Anthony, Bregman, Duran, and Story. Like you got to come up there. That to me is where you lost the game. That's a AAA pitcher, and you have 3 strikeouts in a row. That's disappointing to me. That's really disappointing to me. That's the stuff that will drive me nuts. That kind of situation there. And then you had a chance in the 9th with the bases loaded. Now, Nathaniel Lowe, unbelievable. We talked about it. He's probably going to help this team, and he did. Man, did he have a nice swing on that ball. Nice and easy. Like the way he just dropped the head on that. That was a good swing. Following a walk. But then I know you loaded the bases with 2 outs. You had 2 strikeouts, 3 straight walks. But in the 10th inning, you had the chances as well. And Toro grounded into a double play. It's too bad that Abreu, I guess, was not available. But that was disappointing. You had a lot of chances. But I can actually accept the 10th inning. Cano's pretty good. Toro's struggling. That's not a great matchup. But the 8th inning, to me, is where the game was lost. And they got to figure out, the situational baseball. Because in the playoffs, in the 8th inning, with the bases loaded, nobody out, Duran's going to probably be facing someone really good. So, that was upsetting. And I put the blame on, Story's been great this month. But, for my money, your guys have got to step up, and I haven't heard anyone talk about this. We're just going right to that last play, which I get. The Colton Cowser play. Now believe me on this, I'm not happy on this decision. They internally, and Alex Cora is part of it. I mean, he's in charge of this. Their analytics team said we're not running on Colton Cowser regardless. He talked about it postgame. Now I don't agree with him on that. I just don't think you can make a blanket black and white statement that we're not running at all. And I know everyone has the numbers that he has the 95th percentile in his arm strength. I don't care about that stuff because he was hurt this year. I am dizzy listening to that crap. I don't care. And I know this will upset people, but I really could care less about all of that because I don't know how he's been throwing lately. He was injured this year. He had a thumb injury. I like when you talk about speed because that's different. In that situation, the way you've been playing, you have to send Nate Eaton. You have to. You have to. And a buddy said, well, wouldn't you have been mad if the inning ended with Bregman up? I'm like, well, Bregman would have came up with 2 outs. But no. I think the way you were playing, you had to roll the dice. But it shouldn't have come down to that. It shouldn't have. Your game should have been over in the 8th inning. If you can't scratch a run against Rico Garcia, then you're going to have trouble going forward. And hey, you know what? This is not always a bad thing. You can't be roses every day. And they get some adversity now. They got a day off to think about it, and they play the Yankees in Baltimore on the road. So let's see how the Red Sox come out of this. All teams have to go through some stuff. And there are a lot of teams going through some stuff right now. Seattle's going through some stuff. Houston lost the series to Baltimore as well. Baltimore's been playing a lot better. Still no excuse, but it is what it is. They're a better team now. than they were a month ago. But it's disappointing, absolutely disappointing. Cleveland has been struggling, but Kansas City's won 5 in a row. The good thing is you're still 2.5 games ahead of the Royals for that final playoff spot. And now you got to go 22-13. That's my magic number in the last 35 games. For them, 90 wins, I think, will do it. I think it's time for Fitz for this reason. I want innings. Buehler just can't give you innings. And there was a quick hook last night. He can't throw strikes. I mean, that's the bottom line. I don't care about some things in the 5 spot that maybe some of you, or maybe, I know what they're looking for. You need 5 to 6 innings, even 5. As you dwindle down to 4 and 5, the expectations change. Your bullpen, by the way, I have to go look this up, and I think I will. How many times they have eaten, not Nate, they've had to eat 5 or 6 innings of a start and do what they did last night. Well, Justin Wilson gave up a run. He did. But your bullpen had to pitch 7 innings last night. 7. And you gave up 1 earned run. Baltimore's had to pitch 6, and they gave up 2 earned runs. And they walked 6 batters. You walked 7, but 4 was from Buehler. But that just going forward. Now, you could say, well, is Richard Fitz a better option? He throws strikes. I love Richard Fitz. He was hurt. I liked Richard Fitz from Jump Street. I talked about it. You could search all these podcasts. When he got hurt, it changed everything. He was not ready to come back. He admitted it. We talked to him down in Worcester. It was his call. He pushed it for that start against the Angels and said to all of us he made a big mistake. That's why I have a lot of admiration for him. He said, I shouldn't have pitched there. I should have gone to the minors. And he's like, I'm glad I'm, where I'm at. But he has been better. And I talked to Lou Merloni about this. Lou actually retweeted something because I do think Richard Fitz would be a good reliever because I don't think you have, and you saw last night, you don't have a multi-inning guy, which as another thing I want to kind of criticize Core on this. I don't know how you don't have a 2-inning guy with Buehler pitching. Like, that to me made no sense. Criswell is stretched out. He's been going 2-inning stints in Worcester. And you had to use all those guys for 1 inning. Matson Weissert was a little bit more, but I think with Buehler, you absolutely want a backup multi-inning guy because he's proven he can't, even if he went 5 innings, even if he went 6. I know they're off today. But that just didn't make any sense to me. And I don't know all the options with Criswell. If he comes up and then goes back down, I'd have to look at that. I'm sorry I don't have that. But I just think that it's not working. And maybe an IL stint, this happens. They get hurt. I don't think Buehler's a reliever. I know a lot of you have said that. I don't want relievers that can't throw strikes. Dustin May wouldn't be a good reliever either right now because he seems to have trouble in the first inning. And it doesn't work as easy as you think. Now, Buehler, I know he did it in the playoffs, and maybe he would be okay with it. And you know what? Maybe he would be better. Like Pivetta. Maybe that will be a move. And then, I can see it. I don't love it because of his inability to throw strikes. But maybe the thing is, if he goes to the bullpen, they will eliminate pitches, and he'll be like a 2 or 3 pitch guy, and then maybe you do have a multi-inning guy that has a lot of experience. We'll see. I don't love it, but I love Fitz being the guy that takes that spot. And I know there's a lot of political stuff here with him being a veteran, and they gave him a lot of money, but at this point, you're trying to win games. It's time for me. That's what it is. So we'll recap everything. But, I think Nathaniel Lowe, it's just this second game on this series. You scored 3 runs, and 2 came on 1 swing. Remember the Abreu one on the game you lost with Crochet, and then Lowe last night. Connor Wong had 2 more hits. Romy Gonzalez had 2 more hits. Anthony had 2 more hits. And, I think Abraham Toro, at this point, 0 for 5 at production, just not there this month. I think we see Lowe playing a lot more first base and Toro regulated to a bench role. I think Toro played last night because they wanted to give Rafaela a day off, and Cora talked about some things internally that they were talking with him. I don't agree with the notion that he struggled because he's played second base. You can't quantify that. I know a lot of people are giving me statistics about that. Rafaela's had an up and down season all year. Like, I understand the numbers since he moved to second base. He's hitting 193 this month. I know he hit 287 in July, and he played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He had 6 games at second base, and he had a hit in all but one of those games. He had 240 in April. He started the season 1 for 15. He's been an up and down guy. I hope that this is not an issue just for him playing second base, because that's not great makeup, right? I mean, kind of need him to play second base. I mean, he's better in center, but I really don't think that's – you can't quantify that just because the numbers show that. I don't know. I don't think they would agree with that. I don't know what's going on with him. It's just he gets too big, He's that's kind of been him all year. When he was hitting well in July, his approach really wasn't that different. He was still swinging a lot. It's just it doesn't – he still, like I've said a million times, gets himself out more than pitchers get him out. But his strikeouts are a little down, believe it or not, in this month. But hopefully it's a long year. He might be fighting it a bit, and the day off will help him as well. So I wanted to talk about how many – I don't know how many people go to games, but what a perspective watching a game 15 rows from home plate. Justin Slayton, by the way, I recorded one batter. I know it's AAA, but I don't really look at the batters, if that makes any sense. His stuff was off the charts. He looked as nasty as ever. 15 pitches, 11 strikes. He topped out at 98. His curveball is so hard how he throws it. 84, 85. He looked amazing. Kyle Harrison, again, mixed bag. He's not ready to pitch in the big leagues. He's just not. Not because he only had 2 strikeouts. He seems to get deep in accounts. He threw 85 pitches in 5 innings. I just don't think he's the answer right now. Fitz is to me with the experience. Slayton, I don't know how many more outings he looked. I could not believe how he looked for his first outing. I mean, he was terrific. And I will tell you this, because I asked some people with me who don't know anything. I go, who is the best player on the field by the 8th or 9th inning? They said the shortstop, without a doubt. Shortstop was David Hamilton. David Hamilton has been absolutely raking. If David Hamilton had not been playing in the big leagues, you guys would all be saying he should be up. Right? I mean, the home run he hit in the first inning was an absolute rocket. His play at shortstop was unbelievable. He made 2 plays up the middle at short that I didn't think he'd get to, spinning and throwing, and his arm looked amazing. But he's dominating, and he's playing every day. It's AAA, and I bring that up because with Garcia and Campbell, we look at numbers and go, well, they're hitting, they should be up. But again, it's just the competition is different. Garcia still chases a lot. Campbell had 4 bad at bats last night. I just don't think those guys are an option right now for what you're looking for. I know maybe there's some mystery to it, and we think that they'll get called up and change the offense, but I'm a hard no on any more young guys right now when you're trying to win games. That's why they brought in Lowe. Is they're trying, the older guys to me are better in this situation. Not saying that you can't explore some younger guys, but I cannot just put Christian Campbell back in the lineup. And he made, at first base, there was a pick that you have to make in the big leagues. And it wasn't that bad of a throw, and he couldn't do it, but he hasn't played a lot there. But Hamilton looked good. Sogard looked good, just the way that they play. But, man, Hamilton, him getting a chance to play every day. Let's see. He is 8 for 22 being sent down with 2 homers, 3 RBIs, 5 steals. But, yeah, he's also playing, He wasn't playing in the big leagues. But there's a lot of his game I do like. All right, let's get to your comments before we roll out. Red Sox will be off on Wednesday, and they'll be back at it on Thursday. First baseman Nathaniel Lowe was great. We're getting a lot of that. At Angel Pedrosa, 38-24 for now. And every game matters. You can't save players for the playoffs. You don't know if you're going to make it. You have to play this like it's going to be the last game of the season. You can't play it like it's the last game of the year. If you did that, you just can't. So I understand all of that. And I get frustrated with some of that as well, but you can't run. And if it's going back to the Chapman thing, he already got hurt warming up a day after he pitched. I don't love it, but I accept it. But you can't you can't put all your chips in now, because if you do that and then you end up you win a couple of games and then you sacrifice the last 30. It's just baseball's a long game. I know we don't like that. I think because of the NFL, our mindset is really like Red Sox fans have become really daily now, where they're way up here and they're way low. You just can't. It's just not that kind of game. You don't think Seattle fans are mad now? They made all those deals. They've lost 4 in a row. They have the same record the Red Sox do. They lose today, they go 1-5 on their road trip. Right? Their pitching hasn't been good. It happens. It happens. Still, we still make criticism. I mean, when we have today, a lot of things I didn't like. I've aired that out. But let's see what they do going forward, right? Scott Chalmers, 5,200. Okay, last night's loss, it might be time to get a little worried. This series coming up with the Yankees is huge. The offense is a problem. We'll see. I'm not going to go crazy worried right now. 3 in a row. It happens. It does. I know, no doubt. I talked about the offense. Yes, absolutely. Concerns. We'll see how much of a problem it is. We'll see if Lowe makes a better difference. Let's see when Abreu comes back. Let's just wait it out. If they go 8 games here, I'm not going to jump off the, too much of the diving board after 3 losses in a row. No doubt not happy with the production. No doubt it's okay to be frustrated. But let's see if this continues. If they go these 8 games and win 2, and it's the same stuff as, then 8 to 10 game sample of the same continued production, I think they would be, I think they would absolutely. And if they win, if they don't have a 4-4, I'll take. We don't want 3-5 and 2-6. That could be a tough situation depending on how the other teams play. That's what's crazy about this. The other teams still have to win a lot. But you know what, Scott? It just, in all of these games, it is still, and I've seen this watching baseball and calling baseball for so long. I've seen teams do this where they're literally like, if you had 1 hit in that game last night, if Duran gets a hit and makes it 5-2, or Story gets a big hit and they score 5 or 6 runs, the whole thing's different. And they've been like that, a couple hits away. But I don't like how it's gone the last few games offensively, situationally. That needs to be better. At Jason Champagne, 89-58. The offense is extremely weak. It's been all year. I don't agree with that. You can't say that it's been extremely weak all year. That doesn't make sense, Jason. I don't mean to pick on you, but extremely weak. Cleveland's hitting 227. That's extremely weak. And they're still in a shouting distance. There's teams that have scored 150 less runs than you. So now the Devers stuff is now coming up, of course. We never replaced the Devers production. They score runs, but not always when it matters. I mean, come on. They're weak against good pitching. Cora said the best the other guys are in a rush to get out. Yeah, I mean, some of that's true. A lot of teams are not great against good pitching. But, and saying that, yeah, I'd like to see them be better. I mean, Seattle's going through it right now. They couldn't touch Sanchez last night. That's a pretty good offense. It happens a lot. That's why I talk on this show about being better. It all comes down to starting pitching. You've dominated a lot of teams. Crochet, Bayo, and Giolito. You've faced good lineups, and they haven't hit you. But I wouldn't, let's not go all the way to the other side and say, like, it's not looking good, the way it looks now, no. But to say that the whole year, where they're still ranked top half in runs scored and batting average, and some of that's been extreme. But for the most part, you don't land at a wild card leader without being somewhat good offensively. And now with Nathaniel Lowe, does one guy change it? Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's see. We're getting to the end of the show. There are things we didn't like. We didn't like the runners in scoring position. Didn't like that they didn't send Nate Eaton. Would love to see Fitz in for Buehler. Got to be better. Your guys got to be better. Duran, Story, those guys, and you come up bases loaded, nobody out. Those situations, you need your guys to come through it, and they're fighting it a bit. Let's see how they right the ship. This will be big. These 8 games on the road. We didn't think they would. We thought all the gauntlet. I talked about this. We just cruise right over like this part of this schedule, I said it's not as difficult. And if you want to go back, but I said still all these teams do have 1 or 2 starting pitchers. You can still lose to these teams. We all know that. All of you on here have said that. But baseball, man, will drive you nuts. You think, oh, you got to figure it out, and then bam. So comment, subscribe to the channel, follow me on my socials at the Radio Mike. Red Sox are off, and they'll be on the road. We'll talk all about it. We'll preview it on Thursday, and we can't wait to talk about Friday and their game after the day off. Thanks for watching. Have yourself a great day. Go Sox.